Hey everyone, it's Cynthia, Psychic and Astrologer. So today we're going to be talking about the April horoscopes. There's definitely going to be a lot going on for this month, especially with a full moon in Libra, a new moon in Aries. But I think the big news for April is going to be that Uranus is going to be moving on from the sign of Taurus and moving into the sign of Gemini. So it was spending, it's a 7-year cycle. So it's spending 7 years in one sign in one house. And now it's going to be moving into a new sign, a new house, in a new house. So there's a lot happening. Make sure you follow the timestamps. I am trying to perfect it as much as I can. For your sign, if you happen to know your rising sign, also check out that horoscope too, because it's very significant that it could affect you in a much more bigger way with the rising sign, maybe not so much your sun sign. So if you happen to know it, make sure you check out that horoscope too. All right, a lot going on, so let's begin. Hello, Aries. So the new moon on April 1st will fall in your partnership house. Nothing, no April Fool's going of anything. It is a full moon on April 1st. So the next 2 weeks does bring a time to heighten emotions in connection with partnerships and relationships. You might get engaged, you might get married, you might form a business partnership. Now the partner could be someone personal or professional. This could be, like I said, someone you get engaged, get married to, or it could be someone you collaborate with to further your career. So this could be a very significant time when it comes to collaborations and working with others, especially to further your career. Collaborations could also be with a client, a customer, working with others that can help build more opportunities for you to build career connections. A mentor, a guide, someone that you could help, that could help you maybe to build more success in your career. Take for instance. Now, Aries, there's going to be so much going on this month for your sign. You got Saturn and Neptune in your sign. There's more planets going in your sign. New moon that I'm going to be discussing here soon. But when you have Saturn and Neptune opposing a full moon, it's just going to heighten everything else. This can make you sensitive. This can make you more focused on if something's not working. You're not even going to be debating, is there time for a change to do something? You'll just change it. Whether it's time to move on, whether it's time to say, look, this isn't working, I'm doing something totally different. You will do the totally different. So it's like you're not really adjusting. You're just saying, at this point, I'm just making a change. So the full moon could actually bring about a time of from thinking about doing something to you're just going to do it. Now, the new moon on April 17 will actually fall in your own sign and house. So the next 2 weeks is all about you and your personal wants and needs. The time for you to focus on what you want for yourself. If it's time for a change, time to go back to school, time to change careers, relationships, relocate, change for a job, maybe even move away to a whole new town and a whole new city. There's actually going to be a time where you want to focus on what you want to do for yourself and what's going to make you happy. Now, the next 2 weeks, you could also expect to receive plenty of attention, praise, and recognition for your work, any hard work you've been doing. This could maybe even bring about a promotion or maybe even a job offer or job connection. So that should be looking pretty good. Pluto does square off with this new moon, but being that it's a new moon, any kind of change, I don't think it's going to be harsh. It's just going to be more of something maybe you're more aware you're going to do. So that's going to be quite significant. Now, I did want to point out that on April 9th, Mars will be entering your own sign and house. So the next 7 weeks is going to be a time where you're more active, more motivated, more energized. If you're looking to start an exercise program, the next 7 weeks you'll be full of energy to exercise and just go put yourself out there. You'll actually be more mobile and more active, which is great. I do want to point out also, Mercury is also entering your own sign on April 14th. So that'll be looking really, really good. So there's just going to be a lot more happening with that. Now the Sun will be entering your second house of earned income on April 19th. So the next 4 weeks could actually be bringing a time of more money, because the second house rules the earned income. Maybe it's a new job, new ways of bringing in more money, building more stability, more security for yourself. If you're just looking to pursue new sources of income, that'll be great. You might receive a raise or even a job offer. So the big news that I did want to discuss would be with Uranus. Now, as I have mentioned in the past, that Uranus was in your second house for the last 7 years and will now be moving into your third house on April 25th and will be there for the next 7 years. So Uranus in your third house, the third house rules communication, transportation, siblings, neighbors, education, but not education as in college, but you might do it that way. But there's a broad of certain things that I feel with Uranus in the third house. Then you have Gemini. And Uranus being in the third house of Gemini, which is its comfort zone, it's like ruling house. So this is like it's almost like this comfort of heightening up everything that's going on that Uranus is going to bring for you. So obviously, yes, you can see an increase from communication, how you communicate, how you connect with others. You're probably going to find yourself investing more into like AI stuff, AI apps, digital, artificial intelligence kind of stuff. Maybe you get more involved in that. Maybe you study about that. If you are going to college or taking on a career path, maybe it is about artificial intelligence, AI, cybersecurity, the internet. Now Uranus does rule even though the ninth house rules the internet, but any kind of studying or education, training, trade school, stuff like that could involve the internet. Like I said, apps, digital apps, graphics. That's just going to be heightened for you for the next 7 years. Obviously, communication with friends, family, relatives is going to be increasing. Now, the other thing too that I did want to point out, and nowadays it doesn't really matter if you're a teenager, young, in your early 20s, or even in your 60s. I've seen an increase of people either that are learning to drive or taking classes and driving classes to drive. So this has happened a lot nowadays. I don't know if it's just about, you have a lot of people who, if they live in an area where, I can get an Uber at any time, but then they move away to a place where it's like, there's not really Ubers out here. I have to drive, but it's been decades. I have to take some classes to kind of get familiar with driving again, things like that. So I have heard a lot more from calls that I've gotten where older people getting back into driving, taking classes to drive, obviously taking a driving test again. So Uranus in the third house does rule about that, driving. So maybe this is a time where you decide maybe to drive, get back into driving. maybe even taking back into, to take some driving lessons. So this could be big too. So start keeping an eye. I'll have many more discussions with Uranus in the third house. I just kind of want to briefly point out what to expect with Uranus in the third house. But April 25th is the beginning for the next 7 years in a new sign and house. So much to discuss there. Finances, I just wanted to point out very quickly some financial days to keep an eye out for will be April 8th, April 13th, and April 28th. I did want to say April 28th is a very interesting day because it is a more social time for you, but it also rules finances. It could go either way. Another significant time for Aries, like I say, you got Saturn and Neptune in Aries, but keep an eye on April 19th and 20th. There's a lot of energy with Aries, your sign, and this just has a lot of motivation, a lot of productivity, just so much going on with your Aries sign. Maybe this brings connections, people your way, financial opportunities your way. So see what goes on around that time. But I really do like April 19th, 20th, around there, maybe even a day before, a day after. But it is significant of how this is focused on your sign and what opportunities it can bring. All right, that's it for now. Thanks for being patient. Like I said, I'm still recovering with all my dental things here, but I am doing what I can to put the horoscope out so, you just have a good idea what to expect. But I did want to point out to go to my Facebook page at The Psychic One, where I do post more frequently, more daily, astrological events that are going on, daily events, just things like that. So check out my Facebook page. Keep an eye. I'm slowly working to put more videos back out there once I feel much more healed and get back into the swing of things. All right, that's it for now. Stay tuned. Much more to come. Hello, Taurus. So the full moon on April 1st will fall in your 6th house of work, service, and health. Yes, it is April Fool's Day if you care for it. But this is a serious full moon, so no fooling around on that one. So the full moon for the 6th house can bring a time for you to work hard for the money, take care of tasks and projects, focus on your health and well-being by exercising, losing weight. Maybe this is a time where you focus on taking care of your health and well-being, and maybe even finally putting the focus on getting healed. Now, Pluto does connect very well with this full moon, but Saturn and Neptune do oppose this full moon. So this is the time to take more action, be more direct. Yes, of course, a full moon can make us more emotional and sensitive, but with the 6th house, you're definitely going to notice an increase of tasks and projects, work projects, which is great, especially if you want to bring in more work. That could maybe help you with sales or bonuses and commissions. It's definitely going to be a busy and productive time for you. But if you're feeling like things are not working the way they should be, you're going to make a change and you're going to leave. Or you're just going to look for something different that will bring the results you're looking for. Now, like I said, it's also a time to focus on your health and well-being. Maybe it's the health and well-being of someone else, but it could be a time to exercise, lose weight, and even start a new health regimen. Now, the new moon on April 17th will fall in your 12th house of secrets and solitude. So the next 2 weeks is the time for you to rest and relax and catch up on sleep. It's a good time to just focus on not pushing yourself so much. If your body is telling you you're overworked, you're doing too much, you might feel tired and you just need a rest. And maybe this is a time for you to just take care of yourself and just focus on what you need to get healthier and to get stronger. Now, Pluto does square off with this new moon, but it's a new moon, so you may not really notice too much from that, but this is actually going to be a time for you to just take care of your well-being. If it's a time to discard or get rid of what you don't need in your life, it could be an unhealthy relationship, an unhealthy bad habit. Maybe it's a time to move on from that. Now, Mars will be entering your 12th house of secrets and solitude on April 9th. So the next 7 weeks, like I said, is a time to focus on your health, your well-being. You could also be focusing on the well-being of others. Someone going through surgery, maybe some home care. So you may be putting time on that to help them get healthier and stronger. This could be a time maybe to just rest and relax. Now, Mercury will also be entering your 12th house on April 14th. What I like about Mercury in the 12th house is you're going to notice lots of thoughts and ideas going on in your head. And this could make you feel a little scattered. So I always say, if that's going on, make sure to write things down. Because it could be some great ideas, but when you're not writing it down, you just end up either forgetting or you get disorganized and forget what you were trying to plan. So especially if they're great ideas, whatever the situation is, a project, work, write it down. So that's going to be going on with Mercury in the 12th house. Now, Venus will be entering your second house of earned income on April 28th. So the next 4 weeks can bring you more money, a raise, an opportunity that could bring in more money. And maybe this is a time for you to be open to seeing ways to build more financial stability and security for yourself. So it's a really good time. Keep an eye what the next 4 weeks brings about with that. Now, even bigger news is Uranus will be entering your second house of earned income on April 25th. A lot with that to discuss. Uranus, I've seen do a few things when it's in the second house. It could bring a sudden jolt of money. I'm not saying like you won the lottery, no. Let's say you changed jobs. A job where you were, I'm just going to give an example, where you were only making $20 an hour to suddenly making $35 an hour or $30 an hour, like this big gap that just can be significant, and that'd be great. But I've also seen Uranus in the second house create debts, and whether it's sudden debts, going into debt, sudden debts, financial debts, whether it's racking up debt, credit card debts, maybe losing a job, and now you have all these bills kind of thing. So I'm just going to say that that's going to focus on your own personal chart and what's going on there. So that could go either way. And I've heard stories where I've seen with, when I do someone's astrological chart, where things are just kind of just consistent. And all of a sudden they get a promotion with bonuses and commissions and this and that. And it is like a night and day difference of income that comes in. So I've heard stories, I've seen it myself, I've experienced it myself, and this can go either way. Uranus in a new sign and house lasts 7 years. So if you know anything with astrology, if you study your chart, see how things go about. If there's some harsh transits, that might be a warning sign, what to look for, what to be cautious of. If there's some great connections with like a conjunction, a trine, kind of connection with other planets, especially with Jupiter, Venus, that could be very positive financially for you. Maybe a positive jump in finances. So kind of keep an eye out, see what comes about with that and how things progress. But I'll discuss so much more throughout, the rest of this year and so forth. I just wanted to give a quick little to explain Uranus in the second house has a lot of positives, but can have some negatives. And I don't like leaving out what to be aware of in the possible negatives if you're not aware of what could be going on. So just be aware of that. I did want to point out a couple days where I would call it like discarding or getting rid of. Whether getting rid of old items, maybe getting rid of someone you don't like in a relationship anymore. That could be here on April 26th, April 20th and April 26th. I did want to point out very quickly that on April 19th and April 20th, there's a lot of energy relating to your 12th house. I mean, it's throughout the month, but this could be a time where you might be focusing on, if something, like I said, something not working, you don't like something, getting rid of something, old items, cleaning out the garage. The 19th and the 20th is actually a couple days to really do that. Really, really good. Positive financial days for you are April 13th, April 28th, April 29th. Any financial transactions, making more money, pursuing financial opportunities for career, that's looking great. I did want to point out that the sun will be entering your own sign and house on April 19th. So the next 4 weeks is all about you and your personal wants and needs. The energy is, the focus is on you, where you want to be at for yourself and your future and relationships. So great energy. And of course, obviously, as we go into the month of May, it's going to be about you and your birthday month. So it'll be great. So I really believe that the big news for you will be relating with Uranus in the second house. Big. That's big. I know Uranus in the second house very well. So there'll be a lot to talk about. So just stay tuned. If you haven't gone to my Facebook page, check out my Facebook page. I talk so much more about what's going on daily, weekly. I'm trying to not be too loud and too expressive because I'm still healing from my dental work. But right now, like I said, for now, just go to my Facebook page at The Psychic One to get more daily updates. I will post more as things come about. Just know for now, the big news for you is that Uranus in the second house. All right, that's it for now. Stay tuned. Much more to come. Hello, Gemini. So the full moon on April 1st will fall in your 5th house of love, children, and creative projects. So the next 2 weeks could bring a time for you to find love or fall in love. It could bring about a time to spend time with children in a sport or hobby. Now, this is also a time for you to focus on maybe crafting or creating, designing, maybe even pursuing works of art, whether it's in music, movies, maybe even writing a novel or just writing. Now, I did want to point out that Pluto does square this full moon, and also opposes Saturn and Neptune. So this could bring about a time of having to make some critical decisions. But not only is it about making critical decisions, it could bring about to make definite decisions, whether it's relating with relationships, partnerships, community where you live at. If it's time for a change to move or to relocate, you will do so. Now, this could bring about a possibility of a relationship coming to an end. That's only if there's been issues or problems in the past. But overall, the next 2 weeks could bring a time of making some critical decisions. Now, the new moon on April 17th falls in your 11th house of friendships, groups, and organizations. The next 2 weeks brings for you to build new friendships and connections, maybe get involved in your community, in an organization, volunteering, maybe being part of a group. Also, this could be a time of you taking on new changes in your environment or in the people around you, building new friendships, connections, also going to events and parties, or maybe even you put together an event or party. Now, this new moon, there is a square with Pluto, but being that it's a new moon, you may not feel too much going on with that, but there could be some disagreements, possibly disagreements with someone close to you, especially maybe it could be more of a motherly figure, a woman, or a female figure, friend, co-worker, stuff like that. Maybe, if anything, maybe something like that. But overall, the energy is very positive in connecting with others. Now, Mars enters your 11th house of friendships, groups, and organizations on April 9th, and Mercury also enters your 11th house on April 14th. So it is a very great time of connecting with the people around you, building new friendships and connections. I did want to point out very quickly that there could be disagreements and arguments with a friend or someone close to you, and that could create disruptions and separations and kind of minimal breakup with a friend. But I think that could also be a very temporary situation. Now, the sun enters your 11th house your 12th house of secrets and solitude on April 19th. So the next 4 weeks could bring a time where you want to rest and relax, catch up on sleep. Maybe it's a time to discard or get rid of old items, clean out the closets. Maybe it's a time to take care of your health and well-being, to exercise, to lose weight, maybe even look over how you are taking care of your health. Now, the big news for the month is that Uranus will be entering your own sign and house on April 25th. Now, Uranus has been in Taurus the last 7 years. So now it will be entering your own sign and house the next 7 years. It's a big, big change. One thing that I've noticed when we have Uranus changing cycles is that it could change the cycles of relationships. This could be, for instance, new relationships, new marriage, breaking off relationships, divorces. So as you go into this new chapter of your life, this could be also an indication of having to make decisions, critical decisions relating to relationships in your life. Doesn't have to be personal relationships. This could be relationships connected with business, career, people you interact with, clients, customers. Maybe there's a client you've been working with for a long time and now you're breaking away from them. Maybe because they move on from your life and they go on to do other things. So this is about you and how it reflects you and your own personal wants and needs. Uranus is in your own sign. It is in the first house. So the first house is how people view you. You're from personalities, visual, appearance. Sometimes it could be an indication, like I said, not just changing the relationships, but also taking on maybe greater responsibilities, maybe becoming a parent, for instance, taking on new career paths, moving away. Also appearance in yourself, appearance for yourself, for instance, changing haircuts, changing appearance. Actually, in some of the astrology books I've even read, I read somewhere where changing appearance, for instance, somebody gets a tattoo, that could be also appearance in yourself, your body, how you appear to others. So this is more about how people view you. But internally, this could be a time of your own personal change. Like I said, like relationships, how you view others. Does someone need to be in your life? Do you want them to be in your life? There's so much going on with you and your personal wants and needs for yourself. And maybe this is a time of moving on. I will get to a lot more with this down the road in the next few months, the next few years. I mean, there's just so much going on. But if you want to know, maybe to kind of look into that, look into Uranus in the first house. Transit Uranus in the first house. read into that with their websites, books, astrology books, and look into to see maybe if it has already been relating to you or anything that maybe you can kind of monitor to see how that might affect you. So check that out. Let's see. Now, big days for your own personal relationships, whether it's with friends, family, associates, how you're connecting with others. Personal social days will be April 3rd, April 8th, April 13th, and April 28th. So those are days that I would call them personal social days for you to keep an eye out and to monitor and see what goes on. All right, there's a lot more going on, much more to look forward to. Check out my Facebook page where I'll be discussing much more on a regular and daily basis at the Psychic One. All right, that's it for now. Stay tuned, much more to come. Hello, Cancer. So the full moon on April 1st will fall in your 4th house of home. The next 2 weeks could bring a time for you to relocate, renovate, or make changes in the home. Now, this could bring about big sudden surprises relating to the home. For instance, if you have to relocate because of a new job, a job change, maybe you have to do a transfer and you are relocating to be closer to that place of work. And that's simply because Saturn and Neptune will be opposing this full moon. Now, you could be possibly having to make repairs or renovations connected to the home, and possibility of someone moving in or moving out of the home. Now, the new moon on April 17th will fall in your career house. There's a lot going on with your career actually this month. The next 2 weeks could bring a promotion, advancement, maybe an opportunity that brings you to make more money. I do like that the connection going on with this new moon could bring great opportunities and great changes. And like I said, even more money. But I did want to point out there's a lot happening with your career this month, that if you are looking for a job change, maybe even looking to pursue education, maybe additional training or classes or courses to help further your career, this would be a great time to do so. So the new moon is looking very, very good for that. As a matter of fact, Mars will be entering your career house on April 9th. So the next 7 weeks brings a lot of great opportunities there for you to pursue career ventures, new paths, new opportunities. Mercury also enters your career house on April 14th. It's already out of the retrograde cycle, so you don't have to worry about that. So it's great for contracts, negotiations, agreements, business agreements, career agreements, stuff like that. Great time to do so. Now, another significant time for your career will be April 19th and 20th, because there's a lot of good energy, planetary energy going on at that time, that maybe it's job offer, a promotion, maybe, like I said, if you're taking on any significant training or courses, that could be bringing about a lot of great opportunities there where you do well, and it just opens up some positive opportunities there. So again, April is a big month for you, for your career. Now, the big news that I did want to discuss will be that Uranus will be entering your 12th house of secrets and solitude on April 25th. So Uranus is moving on from your 11th house and is moving into your 12th house. Uranus was in your 11th house for 7 years, moving into your 12th house for the next 7 years. So Uranus in the 12th house, the way I would describe it is, imagine kind of having a lot of thoughts and ideas just going left and right, but you don't know what to do with it. So this could be a time where just so much productivity is going on that it's just kind of telling you just need to be more organized with your thoughts and ideas. Write them down. Maybe it's just telling you that it's just a very busy and productive time for you, and lots of opportunities that will be going on. I'll be discussing a lot more about Uranus in the 12th house throughout the year. So just kind of be aware there's going to be a big change. Maybe look into like online websites or astrology books about Uranus in the 12th house to kind of give you more ideas what to expect for the next 7 years. Positive social days for you will be on April 5th, April 8th, April 13th, April 23rd, and April 28th. Lots of good energy to be social, to be outgoing, to attend events, to attend parties, just getting out there and being active and connecting, or even networking if you are looking to build connections in that sense. All right, there's a lot going on. Stay tuned, much more to come. And also check out my Facebook page, as I do post more daily at The Psychic One, as I post daily there. All right, stay tuned, much more to come. Hello, Leo. Now, the full moon on April 1st will fall in your 3rd house of short trips, communication, siblings, and neighbors. Now, the next 2 weeks can bring a time for you to take quick short trips out of town or someplace nearby. Now, the one thing that I did want to point out, this is being a full moon, so you might have to repair or replace a vehicle, computer, cell phone, or telephone. Pluto does square off with this full moon, but Saturn and Neptune also oppose this full moon from your 9th house. So this could be a time where maybe you need to make some changes in how you communicate and how you connect with others. Now, with the 3rd house, obviously, this could relate to an increase of communication with siblings, neighbors, relatives, especially aunts, uncles, and cousins. Now, this is also a time to how you approach others, how you communicate and connect with others. And this could be a time of improving how you communicate and connect with those close to you. But like I said, you may take a quick short trip out of town, maybe even visit someplace nearby, or even plan a trip. It is also a time of education, just taking some quick classes or courses. Now, the new moon on April 17th will fall in your 9th house of long-distance trips, foreign people and places. The next 2 weeks brings a time for you to travel far, or maybe others that live far come to visit you. Now, the 9th house also rules universities, so you may enter university or take classes and courses to further your career. Now, the 9th house also rules courts. Not to say that you're going to be dealing with any legal issues, but if you are going to court, have to deal with court-related situations, like going through a divorce, dealing with probate, for instance, the next 2 weeks could easily be affected by that. Now, the good news is that Saturn and Neptune actually support this new moon, so there could be some positive conclusions and resolutions. Now, Mars will be entering also your 9th house on April 9th, and Mercury will be entering your 9th house on April 14th. So if you need to make a presentation, whether it's how you present yourself to others through the courts, legal, and even advertising. So if you are advertising, promoting, publishing, marketing, advertising could also be like, let's say, for instance, like doing a podcast, doing videos, selling, salesman, how you present yourself to others. That's also the 9th house. And this is actually a really good time to put yourself out there and make a presentation. If you are having to, I don't want to say convince someone, but in sales, your goal is to convince to make the sale. So this could actually bring about a time of doing that. If you have to go to court, you might be more forward, more direct in order to sell your case, in order to make your point. So that could be easily going on. Now, the sun will be entering your career house on April 19th. So the next 4 weeks does bring a time for you to possibly receive a promotion or advancement, maybe focus on career goals, maybe a new career path. And if you need to take any classes or courses, this will actually be a great time to focus on that and to do so. Now, I did want to point out that Venus is in your career house, but then will be entering your 11th house of friendships, groups, and organizations on April 23rd. The big news for you will be that on April 25th, Uranus will be entering your 11th house of friendships, groups, and organizations. The reason why that's a big deal is because Uranus was in your career house for the last 7 years. There could have been big changes in your career. Maybe you were pursuing new ventures. Maybe you quit your job and you pursued something new. Now it's going to start moving into your 11th house, and it's going to be there for the next 7 years. The 11th house rules friendships, groups, organizations, dealing with community, dealing with people, groups. I associate it with, like, if you're building a group, for instance, a following, like subscribers, whether it's like through a social media platform, that falls in the 11th house. Maybe this is a time where you're building community and building a connection for a following, especially if you have a product or service. And so maybe you're getting more involved in that and building that kind of connection. So from about April 23rd through April 26th, Venus and Uranus have this great connection. But what's interesting is that from the 23rd, 24th, it's Venus and Uranus connecting in Taurus, your career house. And then from the 24th, 25th, and 26th, or more like the 25th, 26th, it's Venus and Uranus connecting in your 11th house. So maybe there's a connection there all together. Maybe it's a time of building community, especially if you're selling a product, selling a service. Maybe this all comes together. So keep an eye on that time frame from the 22nd to the 26th of April. See what comes about for you. If you're pursuing a new career venture, a new job, a new type of job that provides a service, see what happens during that time. That could be quite significant for you. Okay, so there's that going on. Now, when it comes down to your 9th house, keep an eye between the April 19th and April 20th, or April 19th to the 21st, where it's going to be highlighted with the 9th house, like I was discussing about education, the courts, publishing, marketing. That's a really significant positive time that I would say keep an eye out on that part there. That should be looking really, really good. So there's definitely going to be a lot going on. I did want to point out some positive financial career dates for you. And that's going to be April 3rd, April 8th, April 13th, April 14th, and April 18th. So those are significant. And then like I was telling you about April 23rd and 24th through the 26th. So there's a lot going on with that. I'll be discussing a lot more about Uranus in the 11th house because that's going to be there for 7 years. So there's going to be plenty to talk about with Uranus. So make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll be having more videos posted. Also, check out my Facebook page at The Psychic One, where I do post more regularly, more daily, and whenever I can, I may have been posting horoscopes, including weekly horoscopes. All right, that's it for now. Stay tuned. I got much more to come. Hello, Virgo. So the full moon on April 1st falls in your 2nd house of earned income. The next 2 weeks could bring a time for you to gain financially. Maybe this is a time for you to make more money, receive a raise. If you're looking for a job change, this is the time to do so. The other thing that I did want to bring up is that even though the full moon does square Pluto, but it also opposes Saturn and Neptune, it's time for a change. If you're not satisfied with your finances, you're going to be looking to make a change. Whether change how you make money, how much money is coming in. If you're not seeing enough money, then you're going to be feeling that you need to do something different. and pursuing something different. And maybe this is the time for you to feel like I need to pursue different avenues, bring in more money, build more financial security. This full moon will make you do that. Now, the new moon on April 17th will fall in your 8th house of joint resources, taxes, credit cards, and loans. The next 2 weeks could bring a time for you to see more money through loans, gifts, rewards, taxes, credit cards, gifts, rewards, other types of benefits, inheritance, settlements, stuff like that. What I do like about this new moon for you is that it's also very positive of you thinking for the long term. So this could also affect investments, retirement, savings, you planning for the long term. And this is a positive new moon. There will be a square with Pluto, but I kind of feel that this is more about you being more direct in what you need to do in order to pursue to get ahead financially. But it's also a great time if you are looking to budget and save for the future. Now, Mars will be entering your 8th house on April 9th, and Mercury will be entering your 8th house on April 14th. So definitely the big theme for the month is going to be planning and organizing for finances and your financial future. If it's time to budget, to save, to get organized, to invest, like I said, save for the future, this is going to be the month where you're really going to be looking into that. As a matter of fact, some days that I think are going to be looking very positive for you with all that will be from April 12th through April 16th, and then also April 20th through April 23rd. So this is a time where I would say you're thinking more for the long term and how to get ahead with the finances. And this is actually even a time if you feel like something's not working, you're just going to restructure everything to be focused on that. Now, the big news and the big theme for April is going to be that Uranus will be moving on from your 9th house and then moving into your 10th house, career house. So Uranus in your 10th house could bring about 7 years, making changes in your career, pursuing new career goals, career paths, career changes. And if this means pursuing education to pursue a new career, new job path, this is going to be something that you're going to be doing for the next 7 years. I do want to warn you that one of the things that I've seen is where people just quit their job. And I get it. If you're frustrated, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling you're not really advancing in your current job and you're just feeling like you're not getting ahead, it's not really bringing you much in for the future, that you may just say, you know what, I don't want to deal with this and I just want to quit. So I can understand the frustrations of that. Uranus in your career house and your 10th house can make you do that. But I would suggest make sure you're just planning in advance so that you are more organized. If you do plan to eventually leave a job, that you have something to fall back on. But Uranus in the 10th house can make you do that. You would definitely be looking for more independence, more freedom. This could be working from home, being more remote, having more flexibility in schedules. So this could bring about significance in that, and that's great. But like I said, you just want to be more organized with your job and your career and how you pursue that so you're not overwhelmed. And then it's just helping you so that you're not going too crazy on trying to do one thing and then you have regrets later on. So that's going to be the big theme. I also do like that positive financial day for you will be April 28th. So look forward to that. So that's going to be it for now. Stay tuned. I will be having many more discussions about Uranus throughout the year. There's a lot going on with that. Stay tuned. Also check out my Facebook page at The Psychic One, where I do have more daily updates and horoscopes there. All right, that's it for now. Stay tuned. Much more to come. Hello, Libra. So the full moon on April 1st will actually fall in your own sign and house. The next 2 weeks is all about you and your personal wants and needs. Now, being that this is a full moon, this can also bring about a time of feeling more emotional and sensitive. So you will be taking things a lot more personally. Now, Saturn and Neptune do oppose this full moon from your partnership house. Maybe it's relating with others you are working with. Maybe it is a personal relationship. If you have been going through some issues with a partner, this could be a very personal time for you, and maybe it represents a time of change. Now, I don't know obviously what exactly is going on that could easily be affecting you, but this is actually going to bring a time where anything that you're dealing with is going to have a greater impact than other things at this time. Now, the new moon on April 17th falls in your partnership house. The next 2 weeks could bring a time for you to collaborate and work with others, especially to further your career. Now, a partner could be someone personal or professional. It could be someone you are working with, like I said, to further your career. Maybe this is a client or a customer, or even a coworker that is helping you to move things along with your career. Now, obviously, this could also be a time to get engaged, get married, build a relationship, build a committed relationship. If there have been any issues or problems with someone, this is a time to work things out and work through the differences and the issues. Obviously, a big one is going to be communication and working through those problems. The big news, I think, is going to be that Uranus is going to be entering your 9th house of long-distance trips, foreign people and places, on April 29th. So this could actually bring about 7 years where you are focusing on your beliefs and what is how you view things. Now, one of the things that I've noticed with Uranus in the 9th, yes, it does affect college, universities, entering college, taking classes and courses that could help further your career. Maybe you relocate to a different country. Maybe you're traveling more to other countries. I've seen where people decide to make changes in their life by relocating to a whole new country and learning a new language and learning about a new culture. There could be that. It could also be related with court-related issues, especially if you're going through a divorce. Maybe you enter law, maybe you take on studies for a law degree or to learn the legal process. But the big one that I feel with Uranus in the 9th house that is very, very hidden, not really put out there as an expressed out there. But one thing that I have seen many, many times with Uranus in the 9th house is a change in beliefs. Beliefs could be religious, spiritual, but it could also be beliefs of something that you've carried within yourself. And it doesn't have to be in any way spiritual, religious, or anything like that. I'll give you an example. Take, for instance, this desire of, I need to have a child by a certain age. I need to get married by a certain age. I need to do something, succeed at something by a certain time. And then in these next 7 years, it's like it's let go. Or it changes to suddenly, I need to have a baby by a certain age, to maybe suddenly, I don't have to. Or maybe it's not a concern anymore. I need to get married by a certain time. Now it becomes, maybe I don't have to. Maybe it's not a priority anymore. Certain steps, goals that you feel maybe you need to accomplish, now suddenly it becomes, I don't have to. It's not a concern for me anymore. Maybe it doesn't matter anymore. So certain beliefs begin to change, and it's almost like a feeling of letting it go. So letting it go, like a former way of thinking what you think for yourself. So that's one of the big things that I have seen time and time again with Uranus in the 9th house. And that'll go on, like I said, the next 7 years. It might not be something you discover or experience right away. It could take time, and it could be a slow, gradual process, or something to be aware of. Now, Mars enters your partnership house on April 9th, And Mercury enters your 9th house on April 14th. So the partnership house, like I said, could bring a time of maybe having disagreements, arguments with a partner, expressing, but just be careful not to be aggressive or pushy. But this could actually be a time also of positive communication and working out any issues or differences. It's also a time, if you have any kind of legal issues to deal with, this could bring about a time where you are more direct in what you want or what you want to accomplish in these situations. Now, the sun will be entering your 8th house of joint resources, taxes, credit cards, and loans on April 19th. So the next 4 weeks could bring a time for you to gain through bonuses, commissions, sales, gifts, settlements, rewards, inheritance. Venus also enters your 8th house on, let me see, it should be, okay, Venus is in your 8th house, but will be moving into your 9th house on April 23rd. So like I said, Uranus is now in your 9th house on April 25th, but right before that, Venus will be going into your 9th house. As a matter of fact, a big day for the 8th house between Venus and Uranus to connect. That could bring about maybe financial benefits, and that would be April 23rd. Then when Venus goes into your 9th house with Uranus, which would be like 2 days after, then the 9th house gets affected. And maybe it brings about a trip, travel, maybe others that live far come to visit you. So that could be quite significant there. So that'll be very interesting. So there's a day that I did want to point out that affects you in with the air signs, because you are an air sign, and that would be with Gemini and Aquarius, and that will be on April 28th. So there's this great connection there that could bring maybe opportunities, maybe a new relationship, maybe a new career path. Maybe you're opening your horizons to something different, something new, maybe being open to a new discovery. So keep an eye, April 28th. So the significant days to monitor would be April 23rd, April 25th, and April 28th. But I do like that with partnerships and relationships, throughout the entire month of April seems to be significant. Especially when Mars enters your partnership house. But I especially also like from the 19th, 20th, 21st, give or take, with partnerships and relationships being a big one there. All right, that's it. That's going to be going on. The big one for you is going to be with Uranus in the 9th house. Obviously, partnerships and relationships are going to be a big one throughout this month. Make sure you check out my Facebook page at The Psychic One, where I am posting more daily updates there, posting also weekly horoscopes. And if you haven't already done so, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, where I will be posting many more videos to come. All right, that's it. Stay tuned. Much more to come. Hello, Scorpio. So the full moon on April 1st will fall in your 12th house of secrets and solitude. Now, the next 2 weeks could bring a time for you to rest and relax and catch up on sleep. This is also a time to discard or get rid of what you don't need in your life. Maybe it's a time for you to focus on your health and well-being, maybe to exercise, lose weight, take on a new health regimen. Maybe this is a time where your body is telling you it's time to rest and relax and focus on you. Now, Saturn and Neptune will be opposing this full moon from your 6th house. So this could be a time, like I said, maybe your body is telling you you need to focus on taking care of yourself. And if you don't, other issues could catch up to you. Now, the new moon on April 17th falls in your 6th house of work, service, and health. And the next 2 weeks could bring a time for you to work hard for the money, take on any task or project, and focus on your health. Maybe it's time to focus also on your teeth. The 6th house does rule bones. Our bones, like our teeth, if you have to go to a chiropractor, our body. If there's any issues relating to our bones, that's going to be a big one with the 6th house. So maybe you have to exercise, go to the chiropractor, go to the dentist, take any exam or test relating with your health. That's going to be a big one. So Saturn and Neptune do support this new moon because they're all in the sign of Aries, but Pluto is squaring off with this new moon. I don't think you're going to really notice too much with the Pluto square, but I think the energy of all the Aries energy is going to motivate you that if you've been neglecting something, it's time to take care of it. So that's going to be the big one. Now, Mars is going to be entering your 6th house on April 9th, and Mercury is going to be entering your 6th house on April 14th. So definitely it is a time to work hard, take on any task or project, any work project. You might be taking on extra work, whether it's to get ahead with your finances. Maybe it'll help for more sales, more bonuses, more commissions. Also, if you're looking to exercise, start a health regimen, start a exercise program, this is a great time to do so. Now, the Sun will be entering your partnership house on April 19th. So the next 4 weeks brings a time for you to focus on the partner, whether the partner is someone personal or professional. It is a great time to discuss any issues or problems, bring up any issues or problems, whether it's someone on a professional level or on a personal level. On a professional level, it could be, yes, maybe a client, a coworker, a customer that you are collaborating or working with. Obviously, on a personal level, it could be a relationship, a spouse, someone. If there's any issues or concerns, maybe this is the time to discuss those issues. Let me see here. Okay, Venus will be entering your 8th house of joint resources, taxes, credit cards, and loans on April 23rd. And what is interesting is that right before Venus enters your 8th house, it will have a great connection with Uranus that will be in its last little degree in your partnership house. But at the same time, it will also be entering your 8th house. So what's interesting about all that is that as Venus is entering your 8th house, so is Uranus. The difference is Venus is only in your 8th house for 4 weeks. Uranus is going to be in your 8th house for 7 years. So there's this great connection around April 22nd, April 23rd in your partnership house. But then Uranus is entering your 8th house. So there's a lot that I want to discuss with you about Uranus in your 8th house. Uranus was in your partnership house the last 7 years. Now it's going to take a new cycle and a new focus in your 8th house, starting from April 25th and for the next 7 years. So Uranus in the 8th house, there's a few things. And I'm sure if you read into Uranus in the 8th house, some of it could be interesting and exciting, and other things could be a little scary. The interesting part, it could bring about a big financial gain. I'm not going to say in any way guaranteed lottery or casino winnings. That's got to be promised in your own personal birth chart in other aspects. It's just not a, every Scorpio is going to win it big at the casino. No, that's just not how it works. There could be financial gains, yes. It could come through settlements, inheritance, bonuses, commissions, other financial ways of gaining. And then it may not even come in a financial way. It could be a gain of other types of benefits, whether it's through properties, investments. So that type of gain may not come exactly what we think. So there's that part. There's another part that could be a little bit scary, and I've seen it many times. So that's the only reason why I'm going to bring it up. So Uranus in the 8th house, I've seen where it could bring hearing about sudden illnesses that lead to sudden deaths, or suddenly out of nowhere you hear so-and-so passed away. So as much as you could see financial or material gains with Uranus in the 8th house, there could be also the possibility of running into debts with Uranus in the 8th house. Uranus in the 8th house rules credit, taxes, loans. It could possibly bring about debts in that direction. Foreclosures, repossessions, like I said, credit card delinquencies, debts, collections. In that direction, Uranus can do that. Just as much as Uranus can give you a big gain, it can also give you a big debt. So I'm just putting it out there as to just being honest, that that could be a possibility. Obviously, if you can focus on, just being aware. If you run up a credit card debt, pay the bills kind of thing. But certain circumstances, a loss of a job, losing, something, running into issues with maybe insurances. So you're struggling to having to pay certain financial obligations. Other circumstances could create other circumstances. So Uranus can create these kinds of issues. And sometimes they're predictable and other times they're just not. And it's just something to be aware of. Maybe just studying your chart, your own astrological chart could actually help to be aware of if something like that could actually happen. So it's just to be on alert. So that's going to be the big one. The 6th house, work, service, health, your health and well-being is going to be a big theme for the month of April, especially with Mars entering your 6th house. You have Saturn and Neptune opposing the full moon but supporting the new moon from your 6th house. Keep an eye on the 19th, 20th, and 21st, again, with your health and well-being and with work projects and so forth. And then with Uranus in the 8th house. So I'm going to be discussing a lot more throughout the year with that. Just be aware. Or also go onto some websites, some astrology websites, and read into Uranus in the 8th house to kind of give you maybe other additional ideas what the 8th house and Uranus can bring about. It's just so you kind of know of all possibilities there. All right, that's it for now. Check out my Facebook page where I'm posting more horoscopes, especially weekly horoscopes that I've been posting at The Psychic One. Make sure to subscribe to my YouTube page. I'm posting more videos and a lot more to discuss. All right, stay tuned. Much more to come. Hello, Sagittarius. So the full moon on April 1st falls in your 11th house of friendships, groups, and organizations. Now, the next 2 weeks could bring a time where a friend moves away. Maybe you get into an argument or disagreement with a friend, community, or group, because Pluto does square off with this full moon, but Saturn and Neptune also oppose this full moon. Saturn and Neptune is currently in your 5th house. So there could also be disagreements and arguments with someone close to you, including a child, whether it's a young child or even an adult child. So there could be the possibility of some disagreements, and this is also a time, maybe it might be time to work through any issues or problems. It is very positive to be able to work to some kind of compromise, but this could also be a time for you to take time to figure all that out. Now, community could also be people you work closely with, whether this is like in a local community, a charity, someplace you volunteer. Maybe it's like at a church, maybe in your local, maybe like a local HOA kind of community. Maybe you're moving away from that community and moving on, especially if you don't feel there is a connection to this community or this group and organization, and maybe now you feel like you don't want to do that anymore and you're moving on from that. So there could be a lot of changes coming up during this full moon, and maybe time for you to feel like it's just time to make a change. Now, the new moon on April 17th falls in your 5th house of love, children, and creative projects. Yes, this is a time to find love and fall in love. This is also a time to spend time with children, especially in sports and hobbies. You may hear news of a baby on the way. You could be just spending more time with children. Now, Saturn and Neptune do connect very well with this new moon. And this is actually a time of making more longer term plans. Like I said, whether it's working with children, hearing news of children on the way, maybe you yourself are taking on more of a parental role. And maybe this is a time where you're building a greater connection with other people around you. Now, there could be the possibility of building a loving relationship, commitment, telling someone how you feel about them, whether you love them. And this could bring about a time of change, maybe a greater commitment, more seriousness in a relationship. Could be it's time to take on the next chapter in a relationship. And so maybe this is a time to take that next step. Now, I did want to point out that Mars will also be in your 5th house or entering your 5th house on April 9th. So the next 7 weeks brings a time for you to be more active, maybe out there dating, meeting different people. You may also find yourself near like casinos and concerts and being more out and about. Mercury also enters your 5th house on April 14th. The Sun enters your 6th house on April 19th. So the next 4 weeks is a time for you to focus on tedious tasks and projects. You're definitely going to notice an increase of work projects. And this is also a time to take care of your health and well-being by exercising and losing weight, or maybe just eating healthier. Venus will be entering your partnership house on April 24th. So the next 4 weeks is about collaborating, working with a partner, showing greater compassion and sympathy to a partner. On a professional level, it could be a business partner, a client, a customer, maybe someone you collaborate with to help further your career. Now, the big news for April for you is going to be that Uranus will be entering your partnership house on April 25th. So, Uranus has been in your 6th house the last 7 years, and now will be moving on into a new sign and house starting April 25th for the next 7 years. When it enters the partnership house, the 7th house. So there's a couple things going on here. I do want to bring them up, the good, the bad, the ugly kind of thing. The good, partnerships and relationships takes, for instance, having greater independence and space from a partner, with a partner, marrying quickly, meeting somebody 1 year and the next year you're getting married kind of thing. There could also be divorces. So I have seen where when Uranus enters the 7th house, could easily bring a quick divorce. Not just separation where things drag out, but a quick divorce. So you could be separated 1 week and the next week people are filing for divorce. So that's something that I would say could take place. You could see a quick marriage, and then 2 years later you're seeing a quick divorce. So that could be the possibility too. Looking for more space within a partnership or relationship. For instance, being married but living separately. Being married but because someone's work takes them to do a lot of traveling, especially if you're like in delivery business, stuff like that, where there's a lot of space while the other partner is traveling and the other person's at home, stuff like that. So that could be going on too. Now, one big significant time frame that I did want to say to keep an eye out for will be from April 22nd, 23rd to April 25th, 26th. So Venus and Uranus kind of have this weird connection. At the beginning, 23rd, 24th, 22nd, 23rd, Venus is connecting very well with Uranus while it's still in its last part of degrees of Taurus, which is in your 6th house. But then 24th, 25th, Venus and Uranus are now entering your partnership, 7th house, partnerships. So that could bring fun, excitement, something new, something different, unexpected partnership, unexpected connections, unexpected work opportunities, connection opportunities, money-making opportunities. So keep an eye, see what's going on. I would say anywhere from like the 22nd to the 26th and see what comes about with that. Positive financial and social days for you, or more social days, but I would say financial days, will be April 3rd, April 13th, April 18th, and like I said, the 23rd, 24th, around that time. So there's definitely going to be a lot going on. Keep an eye on my YouTube channel, and also check out my Facebook page at The Psychic One, where I do discuss more on a daily basis. I have been even putting out weekly horoscopes, not every week, but I will be putting weekly horoscopes, especially if there's something significant going on for that week. So subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm going to be posting more videos, going to be talking more about Uranus in your 7th house, because that's big news. Stay tuned, much more to come. Hello, Capricorn. So the full moon on April 1st will fall in your career house. The next 2 weeks could bring a time for you to see a promotion, advancement, maybe an opportunity that could bring you more money, more financial opportunities and possibilities for the long term. This could be a great time to make a change, but what could be significant is that you might be making a change in an unexpected way. Pluto is squaring this full moon. Saturn and Neptune are opposing this full moon, and this could be a time of you looking at things differently, wanting different things, and maybe you decide to quit a job, change careers, change career paths to pursue something different. And this could lead you down the road of just wanting to do something that you could say is unexpected. Maybe you're just tired of the same old, and maybe this is the time to make a change. Now, the new moon on April 17th falls in your 4th house of home. So the next 2 weeks could bring a time for you to relocate, renovate, or make changes in the home. Now, Saturn and Neptune do connect very well during this new moon because they're all in the same house, the 4th house. And this could be a significant time for your home. Maybe you work from home. Maybe you want to look for more independence of working at home. Maybe this is a time where you want to do things more freely, have more independence, have a more flexible schedule to do things more for yourself. And the 4th house of home, maybe it's a time to make a change. Maybe you relocate. You could be just making some renovations or repairs in the home. So that's going to be quite significant. I'm going to be talking about more about that in a second. But the new moon could bring 2 weeks of opportunities to make a change. Maybe someone moves in or moves out of the home. So keep an eye, see what the next 2 weeks brings about for you. Mars is entering your 4th house of home on April 9th, and Mercury is entering your 4th house of home on April 14th. Again, the home. Mars in the 4th house could bring a time to clean out the closets, get rid of old items, do some repairs and renovations in the home. There could be the possibility of disagreements and arguments at home, maybe even with a neighbor, so just be aware of that, possibly. Maybe even some disruptions in the home. For instance, I've seen like disruptions could be, maybe your neighbor's doing some repairs and just a loud noise can kind of get on your nerves kind of thing. Maybe neighbors being loud, things like that. But it is a good time if you are maybe in the process of purchasing a home, maybe the rebuilding, maybe it's a new home build, and that could be going on the construction work of it all. So that could be great. Now, the sun will be entering your 5th house of love, children, and creative projects on April 19th. So the next 4 weeks could bring a time for you to find love and fall in love. Maybe it's a time to spend time with children. You could also be enjoying music, movies, going to a concert, watching more movies, and also just enjoying just being out and about and kind of connecting with family and friends. Now, so Venus will be entering your 6th house on April 23rd. So that will relate to working hard for the money, taking on tasks and projects. The only thing that I will point out is Venus in the 6th house could bring issues with indulgence of fatty foods and sweets. So if you've been on a diet, these next few weeks may not work best for you. You may actually be finding yourself eating unhealthy, fatty foods, sweets, just all the wrong foods kind of thing. But the big news is that Uranus is going to be entering your 6th house on April 25th. So that is much bigger because the last 7 years, Uranus has been in your 5th house. Now it's going to be moving into your 6th house for the next 7 years. So a few things going on. On a health-related basis, I did want to bring up that Uranus in the 6th house can increase anxiety or stress. So just be aware that could be a possibility, that if you are experiencing things like that, maybe it's something you might need to go to a medical professional to see if there is bigger concerns. The other thing that I noticed with Uranus in the 6th house is that it could easily make you want to become more independent with your work, having greater independence. I've seen that with people who are self-employed, work remotely, and have more flexibility in their schedule. So you could have the 9-to-5 job, I guess you could call it, but maybe work at home. Maybe have the flexibility of coming and going, where sometimes you work in an office and other times you are working from home, or that the work could come with you wherever you go. So that's the big one with Uranus in the 6th house. Like I said, also Uranus relates to your health and well-being. Like I was saying, it could bring about anxiety or other issues of illnesses, ailments. Maybe this is a time where it's your body telling you need to take care of yourself. The 6th house also rules the bones and dental work. Maybe it's also a time for you to take care of your teeth, maybe going to the dentist. And maybe if there's any issues with your back, maybe it's time to go to the chiropractor. So maybe you need to start focusing and taking care of that kind of stuff. But either way, it's big with wanting to have greater independence with work or work schedules, and also, like I said, your health and well-being. So first, let me bring up some good days with love and relationships, because that's also going to be a big one for you this month. That's going to be on like April 8th, April 9th, April 13th, April 14th, April 18th is also a big one. So, but the home is also going to be big, especially on, let me see here. I do like for you April 19th, 20th, 21st. So between April 23rd and April 26th, give or take, Venus and Uranus are going to have this great connection with each other. On one end, it's going to be in your 5th house, and then 2 days later, it goes into your 6th house. So maybe this is a time for you to really be open to finding new possibilities and opportunities to build income, but more income to do things more independently, looking for a job that gives you flexibility in schedules, or pursuing other forms of work where you're not feeling restricted or limited. So that's going to be big. So the home is going to be big, like I said, throughout the month. Maybe it's relating with a move, or relocating, making some changes or repairs. Maybe you're decorating a room, like I said, renovations outside, inside a home. So those are going to be significant. All right, there's so much more going on. Like I said, especially now that you have Uranus entering your 6th house on April 25th. Much more to discuss. Check out my Facebook page where I post more daily at The Psychic One. And then subscribe to my YouTube channel. I've got many more videos to come, especially now with Uranus entering a new sign and house. All right, that's it for now. Stay tuned. Much more to come. Hello, Aquarius. So the full moon on April 1st will fall in your ninth house of long distance trips, foreign people and places. Now, the next 2 weeks could bring a time for you to travel long distance, or maybe others that live far come to visit you. Now, this could also be a time where the next 2 weeks could bring the possibilities of dealing with any court or legal related issues. Now, Pluto is squaring this full moon, and Saturn and Neptune are also opposing this full moon. So there could be concerns when it relates to how a court-related situation will work out for you or against you. It's not the best full moon to want to be having a court case. But then again, maybe it's final resolutions and solutions of something maybe you've been waiting out on. So just kind of be aware that the next 2 weeks doesn't really bring about the greatest promises of something to work out to your behalf if you're dealing with any court-related, legal-related situations. Now, the next 2 weeks is also a time if you're looking to enter college or university, take classes and courses, maybe to help further your career. This is actually a great time to study and learn a new language, culture, things like that. But the overall energy is positive if you're looking to study and learn, broaden your horizons and learn something new. Now, the new moon on April 17th falls in your third house of short trips, communication, siblings, and neighbors. The next 2 weeks brings a time for you to take quick short trips around town, maybe even to visit someplace nearby. Now, if you're also maybe looking to travel, this is also a time where you'll see an increase of emails, text messages, and phone calls. Now, Saturn and Neptune actually support this new moon, so it's actually a really positive time of thinking and planning for the long term. So it's a good time if you're looking to take classes and courses, do studies. This is actually a really good time to do that. The third house is really highlighted for you this month. You have Mars entering your third house on April 9th and Mercury entering your third house on April 14th. So communication increases, travel, short trips, education increases throughout the next few weeks, about 7 weeks. So that's going to be a pretty big deal going on there. Also, the sun will be entering your fourth house of home on April 19th. So the next 4 weeks could bring a time for you to relocate, renovate, or make changes in the home. It's also a time maybe if you're doing any kind of repairs or renovations in the home. Now, Venus will be entering your fifth house of love, children, and creative projects on April 23rd. But I did want to point a few things out. So Venus will be entering your fifth house of love, children, and creative projects on April 23rd. So the next 4 weeks brings the time for you to find love or fall in love, spend time with children. Maybe if you are out there dating, the next 4 weeks is a great time to be out there dating, meeting different people, maybe just going out and enjoying the dating scene. So around April 23rd, 24th, Venus and Uranus connect very well in your fourth house of home. So the focus will be relating to the home. So if you're looking maybe to design, decorate, relocate, looking for a new place to live, around that time, 23rd, 24th, will be positive for that. Then Venus enters your fifth house of love, children, creative projects on April 23rd. Then on April 25th, Uranus enters your fifth house of love, children, and creative projects. Here's the big difference, though. Venus is in the fifth house for 4 weeks. Uranus will be entering your fifth house for 7 years. 7 years. So Uranus was in your fourth house for 7 years. Now it's moving out of that house and will be entering a new sign and house on April 25th. So Venus and Uranus will still be having a connection between like the April 24th, 25th, 26th. So then the focus would be from the home into love and relationships. Now, this could bring a significant new relationship, fun and excitement, dating, maybe building a sudden relationship with someone that you fall in love with and have a great committed relationship. Maybe this could relate to children. Maybe you hear news of a baby on the way. Maybe something really going on with children. A creative and crafty project you're looking forward to. It may not be a surprise. It may be something great. Unexpectedly, could be something positive, could be surprise, and still be something great. And also, it could be something you hear about from others. So this isn't anything in connection to you. It could be from others. So, like I said, it could come about in many different forms. An unexpected relationship, unexpected surprising relationship, and just things that are unexpected, and so that could be quite interesting. I also have seen, like, if you are dating and out there meeting different people, Uranus is ruled by the sign of Aquarius, so you may attract more Aquarian type of people, like an Aquarius, someone who has Aquarius rising sign, or the sign in their first house is Aquarius. People who have maybe unique or different careers. And so maybe it's something they do different that is unexpected, not the usual 9-to-5 kind of job. So things like that. So just kind of be aware. I'll be discussing about Uranus in the 5th house down the road, but just kind of to give you an idea what to expect. I did want to point out some very positive social days for you to look forward to. You are a very social sign. And that will be April 5th, April 8th, April 13th, April 14th, in that time period from April 21st, 22nd, all the way to the 26th of April. There's a lot to discuss, so much more going on. I'm going to be discussing so much. Subscribe to my YouTube page for more videos. Also follow me on my Facebook page at The Psychic One, where I do post more daily updates, horoscopes, things going on, what to look forward to, videos that are going to be coming up. So just more daily update events. All right, that's it for now. Stay tuned. Got more to come. Hello, Pisces. So the full moon on April 1st falls in your 8th house of joint resources, taxes, credit cards, and loans. The next 2 weeks could bring a time for you to take care of any financial obligations, especially in connection to taxes, credit, loans, inheritance, settlements, may be other financial obligations, especially if you're going through a divorce, a separation, any issues connected to things like that, for instance. Now, Pluto does square off with this full moon, and Saturn and Neptune also oppose this full moon. So this might be a time of taking care of any financial obligations, also a time where you may be planning and organizing financially for the long term, like retirements and savings accounts. So it's more about thinking and planning for the long term, but it also could be a really good time to pay off any debts or bills. Now, the new moon on April 17th falls in your 2nd house of earned income. So Saturn and Neptune are supporting the new moon from your 2nd house of earned income. So the next 2 weeks could bring a time for you to make more money, receive a raise, a promotion, an advancement. If you're looking to build additional sources of income, this is actually a really good time for it. So the next 2 weeks could bring, like I said, a new job, a raise, opportunities that could help in building more income. Now, Mars will also be entering your 2nd house on April 9th, and Mercury will be entering your 2nd house on April 14th. You got like 7 weeks right there of opportunities that could bring you more money, looking for more sources of income. If you are going through the process of looking for a new job, or maybe just another job or additional income, the next few weeks is actually a really, really good time for that. That could easily help in attracting more money your way. Now, the sun enters your third house of short trips, communication, siblings, and neighbors on April 19th. Now, the next 4 weeks brings the time for you to take quick short trips out of town, maybe visit someplace nearby. You'll also see an increase of emails, text messages, and phone calls. If you're looking to replace a vehicle, this would be a great time to do so. Now, Venus will be entering your fourth house of home on April 23rd. And the big news will be that Uranus will also be entering your fourth house of home on April 25th. So I did want to discuss something about that time frame. So Venus and Uranus will still be in your third house, like around April 22nd, 23rd, 24th, give or take. Venus and Uranus will be together in your third house, short trips, communication, traveling, stuff like that. But then on April 25th, Uranus will be entering your fourth house, and Venus and Uranus will still be connecting together, but now in your fourth house of home. So going from your third house to going to your fourth house, the fourth house could be relocating, renovating, making changes in the home. Maybe this is a time to make some repairs and renovations in the home. So Uranus has been in your third house for the last 7 years. Now it's going to be moving into a new sign and house on April 25th, where it'll be in your fourth house for the next 7 years. So it's going to be a time where the focus will be more about the home. So when we're thinking about home and home-related issues, concerns, this could bring about a time where if you are taking, for instance, like making a move, having to do a sudden move. I've seen doing astrology readings where I've seen people do like sudden like a sudden sale of a home, sudden relocating of a home, having to move suddenly because it's a job change, something happened and they have to move. So I've seen things like that happen. Uranus in the fourth house, yes, could bring sudden changes relating to the home, the people you live with, the people around you. That could be going on in connection to the home. So this Venus and Uranus connection, it's all together. It'll only last for about 4 or 5 days. One part, it's the third house. The next part, it's the fourth house. Who knows what comes about for that? Maybe if you are doing any changes relating to the home regarding that, that could be a big one there. So the only thing that I would say is, like I said, changes relating to the home could be really big. There could be significant changes connected to the home that maybe it's just a time to make some changes. So I'll be discussing more with the home for you, with Uranus and so forth throughout the year. Just know what's going to be going on with that. You could also look up whether it's websites or books, astrology books about Uranus in the fourth house. If you've been kind of wondering, like, what goes on with Uranus in the fourth house? You know, it could be a variety of different things relating to the home, also maybe relating with parents. So just check that out also. And, you know, it'll give you additional information from there, or even websites, astrology websites that could help you kind of look into what's going on with that. So just kind of like an idea. Now, positive financial days will be on April 3rd, April 4th, April 13th. Positive days relating to the home will be April 14th, April 18th, and then, like I said, the 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th. So make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos. Also, follow me on Facebook at The Psychic One, where I do post more daily updates, horoscopes, just kind of things that are going to be coming up and going on. So just check that out. Subscribe at The Psychic One. And also, like I said, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll be posting more videos and just more updates. All right, stay tuned. Like I said, a lot more that's going to be coming up. So stay tuned. More to come.